So in yesterday's video, we mixed, we poured, we marbled and we demoulded. And now comes my favourite part. Let's turn these plain eco-resin casts into stunning giftable creations. Today we're kicking things off with these gorgeous trays that we marbled in yesterday's video. So if you haven't seen that yet, I'll leave a link in the card above. So now they've had 48 hours to dry and the colours have settled beautifully, with some really lovely subtle marbling running through this yellow tray. So my aim for this one was to add a little bit of positivity with this Be Leaving Yourself design. Ironically, by the end of this process, I wasn't feeling quite so positive, because this black vinyl absolutely drove me crazy. It refused to come off the transfer tape, then the backing decided it wanted to stick to the vinyl instead, and somewhere along the line I even managed to leave the Y from yourself a few times. Now let me just put this into a little perspective for you. This footage is sped up about 19 times, with a massive chunk took out, so yeah, I really did spend that long fighting with it. But after a lot of patience, persuasion and a few choice words, I suddenly realised that my 2-year-old was in the living room and could hear absolutely everything. And true to form, she immediately started repeating it all back to me. Needless to say, Mummy needs to start choosing her words a little more carefully. So eventually I won the battle, and despite all the drama, I was actually really starting to like this piece. Now, for your sanity, and quite frankly mine as well, I haven't shown you the weeding of this bee because we'd be here all day. But I will say this was a lot easier to put on than the wording was. And I think it just goes to show how something as simple as a little bit of vinyl can completely transform a piece and really make those colours stand out. So with this whale hello there tray, rather than showing you the whole process again, I thought I'd weed this and place the vinyl on off camera. For this one I've used 2 different shades of blue vinyl, which in my opinion complements that marbling really well. So with the designs finished, all that was left was to give this a quick sand with my trusty emery board just to smooth out all those edges. And here are both trays side by side. I haven't varnished these as I'm still undecided whether to leave them as they are or to give them a resin top coat, both of which would bring out those colours even more. So before moving on, it's time for introductions. Hi, I'm Tony from Georgiesgorgeousgifts. And as always, this Sunday's upload is in collaboration with the Friendship Express, to which the link to the full playlist is at the end and in the description below. So back to the video, and probably my favourite piece from part 1, this gorgeous marbled snail. So this has also had a few days to dry, so I'm just tidying up the edges with my emery board. And as you can see, as it's dried, the colours aren't quite as vibrant as they were when it was first poured. So I couldn't wait to get a couple of coats of varnish on this and really bring those colours back to life. The varnish I'm using is the J Diction Gloss Varnish, and honestly this stuff is amazing. So I start by adding a thin layer, and the difference between the unvarnished and varnished sections is absolutely incredible. It's almost hard to believe it's the same piece. Now I knew the marbling in this was gorgeous, but that gloss varnish just takes this to a whole new level. It's amazing how much difference one simple step can make. So after leaving the first coat to dry, I went back and gave the whole thing a second coat. And that's when I noticed this rogue piece of gold leaf inside this shell, and that's actually given me a great idea. I think a future version with a little bit of gold leaf running through this would look absolutely stunning. But this is how it's looking after 2 coats. Just look at that marbling. Finally back to how it was supposed to be. So here's a resin version that I made in similar colours a few months ago. I have to admit, they do really make a cute pair. So now it was time to turn these snails into little plant pots. Out come the white decorative stones, along with the artificial succulents. And I'm completely converted to fake plants at this point. Can't even keep a spider plant alive, so these are much more my speed. But when it come to putting the succulents into these stones, the stems were far too long. So out come the wire cutter, just to snip off the ends before tucking them neatly into place, using 2 smaller shrubs in each pot. And after repeating everything on the resin snail, here they are fully finished. Definitely my favourites of the batch. Now I'm moving on to the black and white skull, and all this needed, just like the others, is a quick sand around the base. So as I said in part 1, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with this blank space in the top of his head, and that was to add a little spider tattoo. So after choosing my design and remembering to take the front layer off this time, I added a little bit of water and tried to attach it to the top of his skull. Now, I didn't really anticipate just how awkward it would be to apply a tattoo to a curved surface, and unfortunately my first attempt really didn't go to plan. Half the tattoo decided it simply wasn't going to transfer, and at this point I'm starting to panic a little, wondering how on earth I'm supposed to remove this spider without turning this skull into a little horror story of its own for all the wrong reasons. The only thing I could think of was to grab some alcohol and give it a good rub, and luckily enough this did seem to remove most of it, and for the stubborn bits that remained I just used my emery board to sand all the bits away. So with all the evidence of my failed attempt finally removed, it was time for round 2, this time using a smaller spider, and the design turned out so much better, and because that worked so well, I decided that the back deserved a little spider tattoo as well. But how could I be finished there? To give him a little bit of extra personality and move away from the Halloween look, I reached for my Aurora Borealis Rhinestones and decided to fill his eye sockets with this little bit of sparkle. And after adding a healthy amount of B7000, I pretty much dumped the rhinestones into the eye sockets and sorted them out as I went along, because trying to pick these up one by one was far more fiddly than my fingers were willing to tolerate. And with the second eye finish, all that was left to do was give this little guy a couple of coats of gloss varnish. Not only is this going to give him a lovely shine, but it's also going to help to seal in those tattoos and rhinestones. Once everything was completely dry, I moved on to one of my favourite finishing touches. Now it might seem like a tiny detail, but I really do think that these little things make all the difference. So I'm tracing around the base onto some self-adhesive felt, cutting it out and sticking it to the bottom of the skull. Not only is this stuff really inexpensive, but you can cut it to absolutely any shape you need. I'll leave the links to everything I've used throughout today's video in the description box below as always. So what started off as a simple black and white marbling has turned into this beautiful skull full of personality. Another technique this simple but effective. So we now come to what I would probably call my failures of the group, these geode inspired coasters, and if I'm being honest, these have ended up being my least favourite pieces of the whole batch. I absolutely loved the marbling to begin with, but I think I definitely spoiled this one when I added that lighter colour afterwards. Well, we've all been there. Sometimes I should just leave well enough alone. Even so, the fronts and the back are still really pretty, so I don't want to cover up all that pattern. So for these pieces, I'm simply using a silver chrome marker to highlight all the edges and the centre detail, leaving the marbling to do most of the talking. And that way you can decide which side you prefer, whether it's the front with that softer blending or the back with that more defined marbling. So I repeated exactly the same process on the second coaster off camera because, well, you've seen me do it once already. There was no need to put you through that again. So once the outside was finished, I grabbed my silver chrome marker again and run a fine line around the outside edge, both front and back. This is going to add just a little bit more definition and to make those edges stand out. And now that the chrome marker is all dry, it's time to seal everything in. So again off camera, these also got a couple of coats of gloss varnish, which brought out even more of the colours, making that beautiful soft blend on the front stand out even more. So for technique number 5, we're going to be using the Aurora Borealis Rhinestones to decorate these 2 lotus candle holders that we made using the split pour cup technique. And this has given us a much more defined pattern on both. But unlike the coasters, I actually really liked these pieces, but I was a little unsure what to do with them because the marbling was so pretty, I didn't want to overdo it. But before I could do anything, both of these pieces needed a little sanding around the bottom just to flatten out some of the slight overpour. And after repeating the same thing on the smaller one, I gave them both a quick wipe with a baby wipe just to remove any dust. But in the end I decided they didn't need much at all, just a little extra detail, or more accurately, a little extra bling. And since I already had my Aurora Borealis rhinestones out, I'm adding them to the centre of every petal, and then repeated the process on the inner petals as well. My hope is that once the tea lights are placed inside, the light is going to catch these stones and really make them sparkle. Sometimes you really don't need a lot to finish off a piece, and I think these little touches complement the marbling perfectly, without taking anything away from it. And when it comes to the smaller lotus candle holder, this is getting exactly the same treatment. These tiny little stones just add the right amount of sparkle. And rather than going crazy, I'm just added 1 little stone on each of the petals. Then just like the skull, I'm adding this self-adhesive felt to the bottom of both of the pieces. again protecting the surfaces and just gives everything a much more polished finish. And after a few gentle snips just to tidy off the edges of this one, these two are ready for the same treatment as the rest, and that's to give them a couple of coats of gloss varnish. Now, because you've already seen me varnishing several pieces throughout this video, I actually started doing this off camera, but I had to show you this because the difference is incredible. The blue tones in this piece were really quite subtle before, but the minute that gloss goes on, everything changes. All of a sudden you can see different shades and the details in the marbling that I didn't even realise were there before. Now for technique number 6, I'm reaching for the rub and buff just to bring out some of the details in these bowls, which are a really good example of how different your results can be depending on when you pour. Because these bowls were poured immediately after mixing and the colours are blended together much more, giving a softer and more subtle marbled effect. So I have to say that rub and buff isn't something that comes naturally to me. It's taken me quite a while to get the hang of it, and I still wouldn't say I've mastered it. In fact, as you can see here, I got a little bit carried away and added slightly too much gold to this bowl. So on to the second bowl, and for this one I'm using the silver rub and buff, using a little bit on my finger and gently brushing over the raised details. And while I had the silver out, I thought I'd just add a little bit to the details in this smaller lotus candle holder. So once these were fully dried, they got the same self-adhesive felt on the bottom before receiving their final coats of gloss varnish to really bring out those colours. Which brings us nicely into technique number 7, simple but effective beautiful finishing touches. So for this moon candle holder, I'm keeping things really simple. So off camera, I've already used a gold metallic pen to colour all around the outside edge. And now I'm using a gold mirror marker just to add that fine line all around the top edge of this tea light candle holder. And to finish things off, I'm adding a few little stars and moons inside the candle cavities before sealing everything in with a couple of coats of gloss varnish. And then repeating exactly the same thing we've done throughout the video and tracing around the shape onto some self-adhesive felt and attaching that to the bottom. By now you can probably tell that I'm a little obsessed with this stuff. And that's pretty much it for this piece. Sometimes less really is more. And that pretty much sums up all of the techniques I've used throughout today's video. Every one of them is beginner friendly and uses products that most of us have probably already tucked away somewhere in our craft rooms. So I hope you've enjoyed this beginner's guide to eco-resin, and let me know in the comments which was your favourite technique. I've been Tony from Georgie's Gorgeous Gifts. Stay safe, happy crafting, and bye for now.